Right. Hello, everyone, to the second talk in the second session here. We're hearing a talk from Avision and Martin on meeting citizens where they are.
Yep. Should I start? So, hi everyone. Thank you for coming to this talk. And the title of this talk today is "Meeting Citizens Where They Are." And I'll explain in a minute what that all means. It's a funny title. But if I were to summarize this in one sentence, it is a project where we brought together a number of individuals from across different disciplines. We took time out of work to volunteer on this. We used this opportunity to learn a number of open source tools and DevOps best practices. And the third piece of it is we did all of this trying to create a project that would make social impact. So for us, this was a volunteer project that gave us an opportunity to build our portfolios, data science portfolios. It gives us an opportunity to learn and also, to volunteer. And my name is Martin Chan. I'm joined here by another of our co-founder of the group, Avision. Our group's called HK Districts Info. And actually, we were also preparing for Monique, who's another of our founders, to join. But unfortunately, she's in Hong Kong right now. So there's going to be a surprise virtual message from her in due course. So also, if you're on social media, please tag us with HK Districts Info together with Data Science Fest. Greatly appreciate that. Okay, so without further ado, I did mention this a little bit. What is this presentation about? So first and foremost, it is about solving a problem. And that problem is addressing information access challenges that Hong Kong citizens face in local civic participation. Quite a mouthful, I'll also explain that in a second. And in order to solve that problem, our solution was to build an R package. So we built an R package, release it on CRAN, and also we create a Shiny app. For those of you who are not familiar with Shiny, it's an interactive web app or dashboard that you can write in R, and it generates HTML and JS code that makes it gives you a production grade level dashboard. And we use these two tools that we created to solve this problem around information access. And alongside that, because to give you a bit of context, we actually the group of us that built this project, we didn't know each other before that well. So it was almost organically knowing for each other. We grew this agile team of volunteers from a very wide range of disciplines, from user experience to data science to web development, data engineering, consultants, and so on. And we united them under shared purpose, which is to try to make a social impact with data science or the skills that we know. We try to stick to only using open source tools and platforms because we want things to be reproducible and basically to give back to open source because we learned so much just from the R and Python communities that we have. We also wanted to harness the spirit of being user-centered, so we don't want to just build something that's purely for fun and makes no impact at all. We wanted to make something that's at least hopefully useful, and we wanted to try to make our work as accessible as possible. Yeah, and that is I'm going to talk more, but first of all, let me explain this problem that we're trying to solve. So this is around Hong Kong's local level of government, which is the district council. And for those of you who don't know, and actually this is quite universal as well as the problem, which is in the local level of government, political or civic participation tends to be quite low. And what I mean by that is that electoral turnout is quite low. So for instance, in 2015, district council election turnout was 47%. You see similar levels of participation here in the UK as well. And we tried to do a little brainstorming session and think about what can we do about this, what might be the inhibitors. And one of the factors we identified is information access. And to give you an example, what I mean is that if I were to find out who's my district councillor, I would probably have to figure out what my district council is because it changes through electoral cycles. I need to figure out what they're both Chinese and English names are because we might know them by Chinese name, but they're only searchable with their English name. And we actually don't know what they're working on, because there are some areas where there's a very high proportion of elderly who are not on smartphones, and all the channels of communication are through leaflets or direct mail and posts and all that. So like if I were to find out, okay, what's actually happening in my area, it's going to be quite tough for me because I have to make a huge active effort. So yeah, the one-liner is that people sometimes don't even know who their district council is or what their electoral constituency are. So what we've discovered more recently in 2019 is that district councils have actually started to leverage Facebook pages more to release updates on their work. So we see people doing live videos on projects they're working on. They're trying to engage their audience, which is their electorate, more through posting updates on Facebook. So it's a very encouraging move towards, I guess, digital transformation, or trying to use all these digital tools. Yet there's still a problem, because residents still have to proactively search and follow these Facebook pages for information. And this is adding to the problem that local government is not top of mind anyway for most people. So what we saw is that there's a lot of friction, and it's not really helping with civic participation, and almost like, what's the point if people are not engaged in civic society? So we saw this friction as possibly something we could address and tackle, and this is what gets us quite excited, is that we can tackle this with some R programming, which is our native R language. And hence, the title of our talk is Meeting Citizens Where They Are, which is about bringing information to the citizens rather than having them
go to the information itself.
Yes, correct. And also, some of you might have noticed, we saw an opportunity to make an R pun, and we took it. So meeting citizens where they are. Okay, so aside from the opportunity to make that pun, we also saw an opportunity to not just to create a side project of our work to do something fun, but also we wanted to use this as a chance for us to practice some new skills, to learn, and also to create impact and scale. And the reason why is because we're doing this not as part of our day job. So what we wanted to do was to use this for portfolio building and to do something that we've not really done much in our work before. And as data scientists, you understand that we always want to get into all different sorts of projects. So here's a little summary of the skills and aspects that we focus on this project. So first of all, we used R almost exclusively throughout this project. And we used Shiny as our main engine for building this web app or dashboard. And we'll go on and explain a bit later. But Shiny is one of our tools of choice, because it's the output is mobile friendly, and we can write with it using R and minimize the amount of time that we spend with a lot of JavaScript wrangling and all that. So there's that. And we also try to, in this project, make sure that our code and commit messages and everything adheres to DevOps best practices. And there's actually a lot of detail about that, which we've detailed down in that blog below. Do check it out. But because there's a lot of detail, we didn't include that in this talk. We also try to use exclusively things which are open source. Rationale for that is because we wanted to do something which could be left behind for others. So when others could look at our project, they could also reproduce it for, say, another, for another purpose, for another local government project in another country, and so on. And also, it's about giving back and documenting things properly. And finally, outside of the data science and coding stuff, we also did user research, which is we interviewed district councillors, interviewed users to really understand what's going on without being too detached from the reality. So other things we're also driven by is about being user-centric. So that's the user research part. We know that most people consume information nowadays, not pretty much everything through desktop, but also through mobile. So we wanted to make things intuitive, mobile-friendly. We're aware that people who are not digital natives might use the app, so we try to make it intuitive so it doesn't require a lot of explaining to know what's going on. And finally, accessibility, because the audience in Hong Kong are bilingual or monolingual in that sense, so you want to cater for both English and Chinese audiences. So this is a quick summary, and I'll hand this off to Avision to talk more about the app.
Thank you, Martin. So the first thing before we demonstrate the app is to say that we've entered the app, or the web app, into a worldwide competition called the R Studio Shiny Contest 2021, and it won honorable mention for its technical excellence and accessibility. So big thumbs up there. Let's move on to the next slide, where we'll demonstrate how it looks in a video.
Right, there we go. So, so this is our website. We've got a number of different projects, and this is our main project, Hong Kong District Councillors, the one that we're talking about today. We've got two versions. We've got the Shiny dashboard. We've got the static site. So let's start with the Shiny dashboard.
Yep.
Okay, here we go, Shiny.
All right, so first thing to highlight, as it shows, is, so it's loaded up. You've got some nice little load of bars. It's in a sort of dashboard. And first thing to notice is we've got the option right at the beginning to choose whether you want English or Chinese versions. So this is accessible because we want to cater for our Chinese audience and our English-speaking audience as well. We also have tracking cookies enabled, so you can see who is looking at it from which part of the world and for how long. So we can monitor how long do people spend, what pages they see, and then we can optimize each of the different sections to improve the user engagement. We've noticed that people from Brazil, Russia, not just Hong Kong, have also looked at the app itself. And what you see when you go through that page is a drop-down at the top where you can select the district council and you have the constituency as well. And as you choose them, the information on this updates to the section you chose. Give you a bit of a minute. And the key thing here is that you have information about the website, what party they belong to, contact details. So if you want to contact them directly, say you have an issue or talk about some of the campaigns, you have that there. You also have their Facebook feed, so we bring this directly in from Facebook. The key here is that we will not try to put words in their mouths, we let them speak for themselves. So that's why we embedded the Facebook itself. If you scroll down as well, Martin, on the page, we also have a page highlighting which part of Hong Kong they're in as well. So it helps you locate where your district councillor is or where other district councillors are located. And then if you go to the top, we have a sidebar. So if you go to the list of DCs, we have a table. So if you want to download this yourselves, play around with data, happy to.
Oh. There we go.
And then we go on to the next part, the third part. We have an embedded survey form itself. Key here is that we want an easy feedback loop. Like, you can ask people to fill out a survey. Why not ask to fill out the survey whilst they're going through the app itself? Makes it much more effective in generated feedback. So we have that qualitative feedback alongside the quantitative feedback that we get from the Google Analytics that we have embedded inside. And then on the last tab, we have just some information about how it was made and stuff like that. So that's a brief overview of the app. Oh, actually, there's one more thing, the tutorial. So this is really cool because it's an interactive tutorial that walks you through each of the little steps in the app. No one likes long documentation. Why not highlight each part and go step by step through it. So that was with the idea of ease of use and accessibility in mind. We don't want to read 50 pages of stuff. So if you go back to the presentation, I'll talk through about some of these really cool features in a bit more detail, so how we implemented it and the principles. So I'll focus on the translations, embedded in Facebook, interactive tutorials, and embedded typeform surveys. So you can see if translations was key here was to be user-centered. We know our audience are bilingual, Chinese and English. Embedding, so we could easily present the updates to people. Interactive tutorials, again, ready, TLDR, that kind of stuff. And typeform embedding, easy feedback loop. So you go to the next page. So how do we implement the translation feature? First thing is you have a file that specifies the English and the Chinese, and then you call that into your R script to instantiate the class. And then once you instantiated the class, you go to the next page. You then call that class in your actual front-end scripts to generate that in the Shiny app. Next. Now talk about the Facebook embedding. We implemented a Facebook embedding via capturing the HTML and embedding that directly into the front-end scripts itself. And that's how you see it showing up. Interactive tutorial. Now, interactive tutorials are more of a JavaScript-y thing, but the beauty of this package that we're using, our rintrojs, is that it's like a wrapper around JavaScript. So we don't know JavaScript. Someone else does. They know R as well. So essentially, we know R. We use their package, and they translate it for us. So that's how you implement it, really. Next one. And then typeform embedding survey. So that follows the same principles as a Facebook. When you create a typeform survey on the website, you get HTML code, which you just call into the front-end script around the iframe wrapper, and then it just generates it for you.
Okay. So one thing when we put this presentation was we thought it's not fair to go to a data science festival without talking about data, right? So this is about the data and back end of how it all comes together. So to start off, the initial point is that information about district councils were actually quite disparate, and it has to be web scraped, the data has to be manually curated to put together to be checked. And this is what we did. So actually what we did was we started off with a Google Sheet. There was some web scraping that's been done to scrape all the numbers and images. We had to have someone manually check the data. So this was all done on Google Sheets. And but what we did afterwards was we actually released a package on CRAN, which is, as you might know, is the equivalent of PyPy for R. So it's a publicly available repository. So there are 3 reasons why we had to release, or why we chose to release an R package for the purpose of data. So this is a package that only contains data. Hasn't got any much other functionality apart from holding the data. But the 3 reasons why we took this approach was A, performance. So what we realized was that when we first started out, we called an API from Google Sheets to get the data in, and then we would service it out in the Shiny apps. But what we found is that if we loaded the data directly as an R package, the performance is much better. The second reason is, and this adheres to our principles of trying to make this almost an artifact that would, that exists in the internet for the future, is that the data set will get updated. There'll be more elections, hopefully, and we'll get new data. And and therefore version control is important, because you want to know at each point in time what the data is showing for our data set. And it keeps better records. Writing it in our package forces us to keep those logs of what's been changed. And finally, we don't want this data set that we've carefully cleaned out to be just useful for this app. We want this to be useful for other purposes. So if others want to build further apps or other dashboards, or they want to use this as a data manipulation or wrangling package, they can do it, because we've got links in all our data sets. So if you want to play around with embedding feeds, that's a great package. And this package doesn't only just contain data set related to district councillors. So because we've been working on other projects as well, We also have some new ones that we've requested through a Freedom of Information Act from the Hong Kong government, say data around Hong Kong traffic collisions, street names. So even geodata, if you want to visualize that, that's available. So do check out our package, HK datasets, which is on CRAN. And finally, this is the surprise virtual message from Monique. I hope the audio.
Thank you, Martin. Hi all, I'm Monique. It's great to meet you virtually. While we developed the app, we also wanted to apply the design thinking approach for future projects. Design thinking is about empathizing with users and co-creating solutions with them that address the underlying problem. We took a step back to understand more holistically the day-to-day work of district councillors, as well as the challenges they face. To achieve this, we organized paired interviews with 9 district councillors. All team members had a chance to join at least one interview, hearing the insights from district councillors directly. We developed an interview structure to facilitate the team to collate insights of some fundamental aspects and to validate some observations. The framework also allowed flexibility to explore new aspects based on the responses of district councillors. On the slide, you can see 2 personas. They summarize the insights that represent the spectrum of district councillors and the problem they have. Giving you some examples, we found that district representatives have no records of residents unless the residents contacted them directly before. Some mentioned that they don't have reliable data to support their solutions or suggestions to, for example, the transport department. Some really struggle to turn survey results into tangible actions. We also learned from some districts that service providers for councils have to be based within the same district constituents. This makes the procurement process of any services even more difficult. The insights were presented back to the team so that the team share a common understanding of the burning issues faced by district councillors. We then adopt a methodology called Lightning Decision Jam that help us generate and prioritize solutions for the real problems without any prejudice or predefined solutions in mind. It also applied the concept of work together alone. So we give everyone some space and quiet time to write down their own thoughts before getting together to decide what to do by voting. The Lightning Decision Jam workshop happened when the pandemic was in the full swing, so the team did it completely online. I facilitated the workshop over a virtual whiteboard and video conferencing tool. The slide shows a screenshot of our workshop. There's some space on the side for each member to work quietly, and we gathered in the center for different stages of the process. The Hong Kong district's info treasure the value of open source, and we want everyone to be able to make positive impact to society while learning new skills. We are looking into growing the team into a self-sufficient community to work on more prototypes and experiments in the future. Currently, we are working on another project in collaboration with Street Reset, another ground-up group in Hong Kong that are passionate about making roads safer and more friendly for all road users. We observe that many cities like London, New York, Tokyo, and etc. have their own version of online maps that show where traffic collision happened. We are interested in building something similar in Hong Kong for the civic society and relevant authorities to visualize accident black spots and take more initiatives to improve road safety according to the findings and further analysis. The traffic collision data is not an open source information in Hong Kong at the moment. We obtained the data by some freedom of information requests and developed this traffic injury collision database using some processed data. We aim to have the first product release early next year. Meanwhile, the team is performing further analysis using the data, preparing some evidence-based suggestions to the authority. I'll hand over to Martin to wrap up. I'm sure that Avision and Martin will answer your questions in a bit, and I look forward to connecting on LinkedIn and exchanging ideas on user research and design thinking with you.
So apologies that this still has to have a Zoom element despite being in person. But conclusion is we worked on this. We've formed this little group as a result of creating this project. Lockdown. This found something to do, which was hopefully impactful, and then we're working on more things. So, and I suppose it's good to end this note just to say that we love to hear from you because we're an organic community. We're just a bunch of friends that want to, work on data science projects and on a voluntary basis. So there are three ways that we'd like to hear from you or get involved, which is, if you've got any ideas, it doesn't have to be, dashboarding. It could be anything from, doing more of the data. It could be, it doesn't even have to be about, Hong Kong, which is where we thought we'd find an area that we'd focus on, so there's more specificity. So if you've got any more ideas, projects, if you want to code or if you want to get more hands-on, we'd also love any feature requests, bug reports. You can fill out type form survey if you want. And of course, pull requests definitely. And perhaps easiest is just send us a message or fill a form or talk to us because it's good to understand what you do and how we can collaborate, and because it's good for gaining experience and learning new things.
Yeah.
So that's it from us, and happy to take any questions.
Right. First of all, thank you for this very interesting talk. Just like last time, questions. If you're sitting like the first two rows here on the right, left columns, I'll hold the microphone for you. Otherwise, just ask a question. I would be grateful if you could just repeat the question before answering it. Right. Are there any questions? Don't be shy. Right.
Thank you for the talk, by the way. My question is about how do you encourage citizens to really want to contribute?
So I think it's about, because one of the key things that I want to do about this is to enable and empower things that they could have done, which is, which before, if they had to do it, it'll be much more, there's a lot more friction. So actually, because I've also ran campaigns for some elections for the district councils, and we saw that there are residents that are very keen to get engaged, very keen to participate. But what they find is that they have to get the WhatsApp number of district councils and email them and all that. But just having that one app to find everything just makes it so much easier. So I think it's less about marketing that, but making the whole process easier. So that's easier for the district council to get to the electorate, but also for people to reach out through because you see on the Facebook feed, you can actually WhatsApp them or message them on the spot. So, yeah.
Because there's a reason why people may not be engaged. One of the reasons is it's just really hard to get that information. So to overcome that barrier first, so it's easier for people, you'll reduce the discouragement that they have from a difficult process by making that process easier.
Yeah. I was seeing interesting examples because I've seen district councils do live video feeds, and they were showing it when they were, say for instance, saving a stray dog that's been, around in the area. So like things like that, and that gets lots of attention on social media, and and obviously it's for the purpose of animal welfare. But I think social media makes it easy to spread that message. So we've actually seen some of those posts go viral, and people suddenly realize, oh, we didn't realize there were so many abandoned animals in our area. So, so this is one way that turned out to be quite interesting and impactful.
We'll give the mic a go. So how were we able to track the difference between what, in certain districts, how engagement changed through your app, or any feedback from counsellors or anything like that? Was there any metrics on that?
It's a good question. So part of the reason, we talked about the user research, and that was to understand at base level what the reaction was like. And what we would like to do is continue to capture that and see how that changes over time.
Yeah, and I suppose one thing to also mention is that this actually took place right after the 2019 district council elections. So actually, this only continued for a short period of time, and then there were some changes in the composition of the district council since then. So we weren't able to track that for a long time, and which is also the reason why we wanted to focus a lot more on our code process, how we document our pull requests, and also the commit messages, to make sure that this is something that if we want to revive it for a different purpose, say German council elections, that could be done. So yeah.
Just shout it. Yeah, thanks for showing that app. It's quite impressive. I've not been showing it in a long time. Didn't they do so many things? You didn't explain how you did the tracking. Was that like custom?
The tracking, yeah.
So is it mobile friendly by default now?
Yeah, so the tracking itself is a Google Analytics. So you sign up to a Google Analytics account, and you get a sort of ID, which you then embed in a small JavaScript that you have within the app that's called by the app itself. So that just continually monitors.
So you can just set your own JavaScript and just try it.
Yeah, it's a mini JavaScript code, so that they pretty much provide most of it for you. You just need to replace the boilerplate with your specific Google account ID, put it into the Shiny code, and it sort of fires off all the events into their own little database, which you can then see on the Google Analytics website. And your second question, sorry?
Mobile friendly.
Mobile friendly, yeah. So, yeah, good question. So we designed this with mobile friendly in mind. So every time we deployed onto our production server, we would see how it looks on a mobile itself. So it looks better on mobile than it does on the web app. But I know there's been so Shiny itself isn't mobile native, but there have been developers in the past year which is much more mobile native.
I think it's because we use because the interface you look at, it actually uses Shiny dashboard, which is mobile friendly, but you could build Shiny in ways which isn't originally mobile optimized.
Any other questions?
Well, there's one question, like, did the CCP have any interest in this, or you didn't mention it in your whole talk?
We're politically neutral and independent.
Yeah. I don't think we've got any contacts. We didn't get contacted, so fortunately.
Right. If there are no further questions, then let's thank the speakers again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then